A warm welcome back to the Ref Show with Dean Mohareb and with Mark Lawrenson. We spared Anthony Taylor in part one of the Ref Show, the guy whose stag do it was during the week.
Does that mean he's getting it in the second part then, obviously?
He kind of is, but isn't, because we, in his favour, in the first part, put stag do's in perspective, rather, and we could say perspective when we haven't been on one.
Yeah.
And Anthony Taylor's game, though, did include a howler. This was Swansea 3, Burnley 2. Crucial goal as well. Burnley equalised at 1-1. A wrongly awarded penalty, frankly, for handball, Sam Vokes.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to add to that, really, do we? Except how did he make that mistake and what should he have done? Your view first, Laura.
If you're not 100%, so you're telling me he was 100% certain that was a penalty?
From the first view, I don't think anybody could on
But then
TV.
he has to be 100% certain to giving it. There's that many arms and bodies and everything in the way. I think he guessed.
I think from his body language, he's seen a handball, 100% seen a handball. There's been an appeal. He's blew the whistle, and then there's a hesitation, and you notice that on his body language. Yeah. There's 3 or 4 seconds before he does anything, and then he eventually points to the spot. And I think that part of what Mark said is correct in that he's 100% there's a handball, but there's no way he's 100% that it's a defending player who's handled it, and hence the reason he's then give the penalty. All the clues were there, so the players were saying to him, it was a Burnley player, it wasn't another. Take your time, go and speak to the assistant, give yourself some thinking time, and then if you've got to reverse the decision. But fortunately, Swansea came out 3-2 winners. So
I know players always protest, but you could just tell.
You can tell.
Because they were every single one of the Swansea ones were vehement, all ran to him and going like, it wasn't us, it wasn't us. But if he'd reversed the decision, everyone he'd been a hero, wouldn't he? Could have gone on stag night every week then. No problems.
So we're saying the stag do had nothing whatsoever.
No, we mentioned it 75 times on the programme.
We have now, yeah. Llorente climbing for a great headed winner. There were arguments of was there a push or anything there? What did you think, Lauren?
I think there was a nudge.
Yeah.
I think a lot of referees would have given it. And it doesn't matter whether it's a great header or not. If there's a nudge, there's a nudge.
You speak as a defender who was nudged.
I think it was me, wasn't it? Not me, but the Burnley player, me. And I think as soon as he got a little nudge, he made sure he went over properly. But
oh, okay. We move on. We move on to Craig Pawson's game, and a couple of referees here who perhaps needed steadying performances, having had some difficult times. Craig Pawson, Stoke 2, Middlesbrough 0. Also John Moss among the goals. Watford 3, Southampton 4. I've only got the scoreline down there for that, which is good news, as it is for both those referees, I think. And Mike Dean had a quiet day at the office. Leicester 3, Hull 1. Are you coming back at me at any of those statements?
Nope.
You're not. So we move on to before we go to the Championship, to a subject you want to raise, because something you've noticed, Dean, and I hadn't, frankly. Do you, Lauro, that referees are not always stopping play for head injuries? I've not noticed anything like that.
Well, I only mainly really see kind of Premier League games, and I would suggest that generally they do. But listen, if there's just an element of doubt, you just stop the game. No one's going to abuse you if you're then the referee saying, sorry, I thought he'd hurt his head, are they? Yeah.
But you've seen instances where this has not happened. Just
two at the weekend. One was Man United game with Kevin Friend. Harry Arter was absolutely sparked out, literally like a starfish on the floor. And Kevin played on for seconds and seconds and seconds. And it went out of play, and eventually Arter had treatment and went off the field and didn't return immediately. So there was obviously something wrong with him. It was a head injury. But then more concerning was at the game at
Notts County, I believe.
It was Notts County or Grimsby, I can't remember, and the referee was Nick Kinsley. There is a player who's concussed in the penalty area, so there's a clash of heads. He's actually out, concussed. The ball comes out of the penalty area, so it's in a safe area to stop the game. He plays on, he plays on, and what happens? They score a goal. I mean, that is basic refereeing. Your primary duty is the safety of the players, and that game should have been stopped. The player was concussed, got stretchered off, went to hospital. And I believe the referee after the game has apologised to the team. But it's, that's basic refereeing.
Players don't help themselves sometimes by crying wolf, though, do they? When they feign these head injuries and go and roll on the floor.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. But, when they're still down there, you've surely surely the light bulb moment is like, oh, hold on a minute.
This guy didn't move, Alan. I mean, it was clear there was a problem.
Yeah.
And again, coming back to teamwork, what are the other officials doing? Because if Nick Kinsley's looking at the ball or he's turned away, someone's got to be shouting down the mics, stop the game, stop the game, stop the game. And it was awful to see. I mean, the player was obviously distressed, was in a very bad way, and went to hospital. Football
and head injuries is a subject generally in the news at the moment, isn't it? With Jeff Astle and the probe into the circumstances of his death, a big header of a ball.
Also, look at the number of the lads who played in '66 in the World Cup final who aren't particularly well. And I think that's part of that problem as well.
Is it? I mean, we can't answer this definitively. We can only throw it around. Is it to do with the heavy water-soaked leather balls of the time?
I would say so.
Or, it's a lighter weight ball now. We don't know if it's a danger or not for a repeated heading.
But the other thing as well is don't forget, you probably head the ball more in training because you do all sorts of drills as well. But I wouldn't have thought the lighter ball now would give major problems. But that old leather casey with the laces when you used to play, Alan, and it used to get really wet. I remember my dad saying it was like, whoa, it came near and he just used to duck.
I avoided heading it.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Well, the lines on my forehead might tell you a different story.
Tramline.
Yeah. Lighter part of a subject, but it could change the game of football beyond recognition, depending on the findings in the next few years. There's plenty of people who've never headed a ball in their life are sadly suffering from dementia or have done. So it's very difficult to say, but it's a serious subject.
Which is a serious subject,
yeah. The Championship. Coming to a great conclusion, as it nearly always does. Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0. Going through a bad time, Brighton at the moment, but another of your former teams there, Mark. The first goal from Zach Clough. Now, I know you've got a view on this, Dean. Brighton felt that Britt Assombalonga got the final touch and that he was in an offside position, and therefore I don't think this was immediately given. I think the referee gave it and then went across to his linesman.
He gave a goal, and they were analysing whether he's touched the ball from the header. But, I mean, the fact he's jumped for the ball and he's in the eye line of the goalkeeper, he should have been given offside. The process the referee went through was very good because the referee gave the goal, saw the protests, went over to his assistant, spoke to the assistant, and then between them decided to give the goal. So, obviously, they've decided that the player wasn't interfering with an opponent and therefore he hadn't touched the ball, so wasn't interfering with play, and they've given the goal. My argument on that would be that the player was in a position where he was enough of a distraction for the goalkeeper to be given offside anyway, regardless of whether he touched the ball or not.
But going back to a previous incident we discussed, get it right in the end and all's fine. So go through the processes.
Yeah.
Oliver Langford was the referee, and he's impressed me a lot this season. I think he's a really good referee. And I say the way he managed the process, regardless of what we think of the outcome, he went through everything that you would expect him to do. It was very good.
A game at the bottom of the table, which had a bit of controversy in it, just as well, really, because it was 0-0. Bristol City and Burton Albion. Aaron Wilbraham headed a goal from a corner there. I've watched it 2 or 3 times with an untrained eye, re-referee. You've watched it with a trained eye. It was disallowed for a push. Now, did you find one when you looked at it?
No.
This was Graham Scott, by the way.
I thought the goal should have been allowed.
Yeah. I saw it. He was just more determined to get to the ball than anybody.
So
nothing wrong with it.
A phantom push there, and needless to say, Lee Johnson wasn't.
Haven't they dropped into the bottom three as a result of it as well? So, or non-result of it.
Yeah, you made a point actually, and it's just reminded me that you made a good point, and it is rare. West Bromwich Albion 0, Crystal Palace 2. This is the only Premier League match we've not referred to this season. Mike Jones was in the middle of that. There was only one yellow card, by the way, in it, and it passed pretty uneventfully. West Brom losing, a rare defeat. Your point?
Well, my point is, because Mr. Pulis always has a point, and God love him, I love him, he's a great manager and stuff, but if you'd said before the game, only one yellow card, Sam's team against Tony Pulis' team, you'd have been laughed out of wherever you are. And secondly, the fact that nobody moaned about the referee at all. Absolutely nobody. So he must have had a hell of a game.
Not even Tony Pulis having lost.
Well, exactly. So you normally find something, but no, nothing. Good news.
Yeah, good news. Did I mention stag do's? Oh, we're still going to come to that. Well, we're coming to the end of the show now, so if we were going to mention stag do's, it's too late to get it in. Sorry about that, folks. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you for all the emails that you send us, all the queries that you send us. I'm not able to answer them, but guys like Dean and Keith Hackett usually are. And thank you for watching The Ref Show again. And it's a pleasure always to link up with both you two guys. We'll see you again for the programme next week. Bye. Bye.